Þorbergsson. Albert skorar. Albert Gunnarsson hefur skorað. Ragnar Bergesen og skoðamark. Glæsilega gert. Óskar Rafn á móti Bjarna. Og Bjarni með góða sendingu fyrir og það aftur Ingolfsson.
Hello and welcome back to Besta Pod. I was going to say welcome back to Bestadeildin, but I guess welcome back to Bestadeildin. Welcome back to the Besta Pod ever. As you can see, I'm out of practice because I've been away a little bit, but I am your sometimes one of the hosts, Ragnar. And I'm joined here by
Tryggvi. With a sultry whiskey voice.
Yeah, so we have one host who clearly is not up to the task and another one who doesn't sound like he's up to the task. But we promise you that today is going to be a fantastic episode of the Besta Pod ever. We're coming hot off the back of at least two episodes in which I did not feature. I have to say, I very much enjoyed the episode with Stell. I thought it was interesting, which I guess is something that I'm supposed to say as a host of this podcast. But I did find it very interesting. I think it's cool. So I commend you boys for doing it. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think it's still even relevant today. So if you haven't listened to it, definitely go ahead and do it. Obviously, we talk about a little bit the Ammonia Vikingur game, but I think a lot of it was also just about Cypriot football.
Absolutely, and that was there was a lot of interesting stuff about Cypriot football and Icelandic football, and then just about Ammonia as a team. A lot of interesting stuff there, actually. A lot of players that one knows and stuff. So it's, I don't know. I think it's probably classic that Icelandic people were thinking like, it's a team from Cyprus. That'll be easy. And then this guy rocks up on the podcast and kind of lays down the law and tells us what to expect. And then listening to that, you're thinking like, oh God, they're going to win, aren't they? And when they did.
Just a little bit.
So the episode of the podcast definitely gave a sort of accurate depiction of what was going to go down. That's cool. And then the episode thereafter was good. I have two notes, one positive, one actual note. The positive note is that this line of, can you call him a chip off the old block if the block is his brother, was fantastic. I loved it. I rewound to hear it again. And then one note, you said there's not a lot of patience at Valur. And I should have been there to interject with the line that's ironic because Valur, their stadium is across the street from the hospital. So I apologize for not being there to deliver that bit of comedy gold.
That would have saved the pod. That's true.
But we're here today and we are ready for learning and laughing and living. So let's kick off, shall we? We shall. Let's start with Ia, because you talked badly about them last week. And what did they go and do? They did what they always do, and then they went and won. So last week you mentioned that they just didn't show up and didn't deserve it and looked bad. And then this week, 4-1 against FH.
I think the caveat is maybe that this was FH who just seemed to have completely shut off. Heimir came out after this game and was sort of not happy with the journalists and podcasts, which I guess is us, and he might be a listener in case, hi Heimir. Saying that they're sort of on the beach and not really trying, and he thinks that's ridiculous. But they don't seem to be trying. I don't know. They F5 completely shut off. So I think we'll see how Ia show up against against Vikingur now? Can they trip up the champions elect, or was this just sort of one-off against a terribler team?
The thing with, I mean, I don't think he has much sort of balance in the old bank there to get grumpy at people for saying that they've checked out, because sort of on paper they have every reason to have checked out, right? They sort of scraped past the line. They can't get relegated. They have nothing really to play for. I mean, I guess there's Europe theoretically to play for, right?
No, I mean, definitely not anymore. They're out of Europe now, I think, officially, because they're 7 points behind Valur, so yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't think it was such a ridiculous thing to be saying. Like, come on, man. Of course we're going to say it.
It's also just the types of goals they've been conceding, and they conceded straight from a corner against Breiðablik. All the goals they conceded against IA, they just... I mean, you have a good attack, attack also including their fullbacks, but they just rolled over FA.
In their defense, if there's one country in the world where you're going to concede directly from a corner, I think Iceland is the most forgivable one, because they're usually sort of open stadiums with a lot of wind.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess October, late September, Icelandic weather is not the greatest. It's snowing today.
Yeah, I saw. Good lord.
So yeah, that's true. But yeah, let's see how he does against Vikingur, because they have hope now of getting into Europe. They played really well again against a pretty terrible FO side, but they looked good. Yeah,
I mean, they won't now that we've said it. Unfortunately, they're going to do dreadfully because we talked them up. But now here I am talking them down. So who knows what's going to happen?
So a draw.
A draw might happen because Vikingur did draw. So that indicates that they're going to draw again, because the future resembles the past. So Vikingur drawing against Stjarnan 2-2. A weird result that we didn't expect.
Arda talked about that they're tired, from the European trip. I mean, it is a long trip from Cyprus. Cyprus is ridiculously far away. Like you sort of think it's sort of just around Italy or Greece or something. It is around Greece, but you think it's closer to Italy than it is. It's basically, Georgia. It's insanely far away. Avna said that they were just tired. They had to rotate out their goalkeeper, which there's been a lot of talk about that Palme, the substitute goalkeeper, every time he plays, they play badly, and yeah, I don't know. I think when a news story is basically that, like when Palme plays, they play badly, and that's the entire news story. I think that's not really a news story. That's just like, that's not really a correlation of anything.
Cyberbullying.
Yeah, that's also kind of that. Because a game like this, then you have Emil Atlason scoring from the halfway line. Like, there's not much he could do from there. I mean, I think it's a little bit harsh on him. But yeah, it was not the result Vikingur wanted, but they managed to scrape a 2-2 draw at the end.
Yeah, but I mean, it turns out to not have truly bit them in the ass, right? Because Breiðablik also drew against Valur, which, I mean, is also that more expected, I guess, than Stjarnan drawing Vikingur? I mean, yeah, it is more expected. It should be more expected, but sort of given form, I don't know. They seem like this. If you just look at the points, they're equivalent results, basically, but they're not.
No. I think this game also kind of played out how most Breiðablik games have played out, and I think not 9 times out of 10, 7 times out of 10, I think they would have won this game. Fredrik Skram had a really good game in goal. He stopped a lot of shots towards the end, exactly when Breiðablik sort of come to life in these last few weeks, getting a late winner, which is what they were trying to do. So I think in most other cases they would have won this game. They would have done the Breiðablik thing and gotten away with it if it weren't for that pesky Fredrik. But they'll really be disappointed about that, because I mean, they have Stjarnan next, Breiðablik, and then finish up with a Vikingur. So Stjarnan is clearly a banana skin.
Yeah, they appear to be. So something we didn't mention for Vikingur, that Oliver Ekroth was injured and is going to miss the rest of the season potentially. Is this going to be sort of a make or break factor, if you will, in deciding the title?
I think it definitely could be, especially in the game against Breiðablik. the thing with Vikingur, and I said this, I think, again, with Stel on the podcast there, like, it doesn't really matter what sort of formation they play, because they all sort of, the strength with Vikingur is that they can all slot everywhere. Like, I think Helge Guðjónsson has played it right back. They played, these sort of these random players in random positions. So, like, I think they can probably replace him, but I think I don't know, we'll see how it is now with Europe and everything and all these travels and all these games piling up and all these injuries. To be honest, they've had so many injuries. The amount of the names of the players that are out now is insane. So they're relying on a lot of young players. So let's see if they can hold for the last 2 games.
But like, I think that's potentially gonna also impact this. So Vikingur are kind of getting hit with 2 things. One is losing Oliver. The other factor is that, I mean, there's 2 league games left. There's so for Vikingur they play IA on the 19th, and then they play Breiðablik on the 27th. Breiðablik plays Stjarnan on the 19th, and they play Vikingur, obviously, on the 27th. Just sort of from that, you might already have a title clash there on the 27th. But in between these 2 games on the 24th, Vikingur are playing their next European tie. They have to go and play in. I mean, they don't have to go. They stay at home, thankfully for them. Otherwise, this would be a nightmare. But they do have to play another game there that's actually important to them. So they're going to have to field a full strength team and really put all the gas in the tank, or whatever you want to say. And will they have time to go to the gas station before 27th of October? Metaphors.
True. I mean, the European game is at Breiðablik Stadium, so I guess there must be a gas station between Breiðablik and Vikingur. Between Fossvogur and Garðabær, there has to be.
I mean, there is. There's at least one sort of directly there that you sort of have to pass. But then there's another that's like, kind of have to overshoot Vikingur Stadium if you want to get there, but only by like 50 meters. But,
it's a worry.
That's a little bit of Icelandic geography for you.
It's a worry for Arnar, for sure.
But it's a thing for sure. So Vikingur really are going to have to dig deep there. And I mean, they're just going to have to show champion material, which they have already for a couple of years now. Maybe this should be fine. I mean, if they lose, they're gonna complain about it for sure. But they probably shouldn't, because if you're good enough, you just win, right?
I mean, that was Arnar's whole thing about his spiel before this split started, that they're going to be the first Icelandic team to ever compete on 3 fronts, Cup, League, and Europe. And I think he's going to get slapped in the face with that comment if they end up losing the Cup and the League and then crash out of Europe. Yeah,
but I mean, this is what happens. If you make a bunch of restaurant reservations and you can't make them all, like, you shouldn't have made all these reservations, man. You know what I'm saying? Don't be so good if you can't handle being good. You can't complain about it. And if you're going to complain about it, then just like lose some of the games and get rid of the pressure if you can't handle it. But they'll be fine. So who's your money on? You have to bet your house now.
I can kind of see Breiðablik slipping up against Stjarnan, and then like it being like 0-0 between Vikingur and Breiðablik going into like the last 10 minutes, and just like Breiðablik putting the house on like everything up against Vikingur because they just need a goal. And then I don't know. I feel like Vikingur's going to hold on somehow. That's how I see it playing out. I think Vikingur's going to hold out, but only like by the skin of their teeth.
Then I'll go Breiðablik. I've always been a green.
I'm hoping to make it to Breiðablik Stjarnan on the 19th. Hopefully, if KC doesn't keep changing these games. I was going to go to KR, and then they changed that game, and then I was going to go to Fram, and they changed that game. So Breiðablik Stjarnan, maybe we'll see.
This is a beef I have with, I guess, myself, is that I would fully planning on going to KR. Everything was, the stars had aligned. I made sure everything was fine, except for the fact that my phone still thought I was in Denmark or something when I looked on my app to see when it was, and it was like 4:00 is the game, and I'm like, nice, that's perfect. It means I'm going to finish what I'm doing, then I'm going to go to the pool with my friend, then I'm going to go get an ice cream, and then I'm going to go to the game. Everything's fine. Go to the pool, get out of the pool. It's like 3:00. it's halftime and they're winning by 5. Like, the one game that I was actually going to, or the second game, I went to the other Kauer Fram. And they've been dreadful all season. And then there's this one game that I get the opportunity to go to. And I mess it up. And I don't see them score. I did see the last 3 goals, the 2 Kauer and the 1 Fram goal. But I mean, come on, man. This is not fair. Why do bad things happen to good people?
It's Kauer's fault somehow, probably.
Definitely. They should have kept it at 4, like my app said at Danish time. But whatever. So hopefully you'll get to see something good. But anyway, moving on. Moving on to the bottom half of the table, the danger zone, one might say. Let us begin. There was a segue. I had a nice segue lined up. Ah, yes, got it. So much like FH, who made the split and then seem to have just taken their foot off the gas because whatever, it's fine. It's all going to be fine. Then Fram have somehow done kind of the opposite, where they were like really gunning for top half of the split all season, didn't get it, and then now just feel sorry for themselves and kind of just throwing their toys out, you know, or whatever, metaphorically, and are just a bit sad about it and, you know, can't muster up the effort to go no further. They're not really in any danger. You know, they're kind of in the same but opposite situation to FO. They're not really in danger. There's also nothing to play for, so they kind of just like, whatever, fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, that coward game was sort of seems to have killed them. I mean, but they weren't great against Fylkir either. They won 2-0, but we spoke about it at the time. Fylkir, that was a game they felt really bad about not getting a point out of because they had the ball the entire time, and then Fregi was just there's a difference there. And then, but the coward game just killed them because this weekend was not great for them.
No, I mean, they lose 4-2 to Vestre, which, for the record, I love. If I just have to be my professional, non-biased self, because I really want Vestre to stay. Like, I'm so deeply committed to my desire to see Vestre stay in the league that I'm perfectly happy for Fram to lose to them, because it doesn't make a difference to Fram, but it makes a huge difference to Vestre.
We'll talk about Haukar later, but this takes them 3 points ahead of Haukar after the weekend. I mean, they're very close to Kauer at this point, 3 points behind Kauer. It took them from a few weeks ago when they drew against Kauer, and you know, it was a nice point, but not enough. And then you sort of feared that, okay, where are the goals coming from? Where's everything going to come from? And then it just Ante Runar is finally fit, and he's scoring for fun, it seems like, because I had this thought as well. I think I had the Haukar game on at some point. You look at this Vestre team, and you had, you know, Pétur Bjarnason, you had Ante Runar, and you think like, okay, what if they had those two properly fit all season, they should be doing so much better. Because these are not, I mean, Pétur Bjarnason is maybe not the goal scorer to end all goal scorers, but he did have a pretty good season with Fylkir within apparently clearly not the greatest Fylkir team. And then Ante Runar next to him, you think that would be enough to save them, and yeah, it's clearly is, because when Ante Runar is fit, it's the difference maker in this league.
I mean, yeah, clearly. I mean, they're also playing sort of worse opponents, but in their last 5 before the split, they picked up 5 points, and they're on 7 now on 3 games after the split. So maybe this is what made the difference. Maybe it's the fact that they're playing sort of worse teams, theoretically. But also maybe it's just, you know, it could also be a mentality thing that now it's really coming down to it, and if they don't win games now, they're going down, and they don't want to go down. You don't want to have to live in Ísafjörður and not play in the top division. Like, it's not, I mean, I can't even say that. I would love to live in Ísafjörður. That would be great. As a professional footballer. It would be awesome. But still, I mean, I need them to stay up so I can go to Vestre Kauer next year. That's the sort of goal here. That's my only goal in life. So they need to stay. But, I mean, they've really sort of come into their own at the end here. And it's crazy to think that they are Is it crazy to think? I don't know. That they're at the same sort of level as Coward when you look at the table and the points and what have you. I mean, Coward are on 28, Vestri on 25, and I mean, Coward only on 28 because they just won as well. If we want to just really quickly talk about that, Coward 0, Coward 4. So Coward somehow have scored 11 goals in their last 2 games, or whatever, to pick up 6 points. Like, for Coward to get 11 goals and 6 points would have taken like 20 games in the rest of the season. So it's funny because if we've talked about this before about vibes and whatever, but the Vestri vibes all year have been good, and like, you know, these plucky guys who are getting points here and there, playing well and all that. And for Coward, it's just in the absolute gutter. Could not be worse. And they're basically doing the same. It's great. Coward, I mean, you're saying the Vestri are getting dragged by Anteri Runar, and Coward are getting dragged by Benoni, who I've been praising all season, I feel. He's the only good thing at Coward, basically. I don't know, but he's clearly the best little cog in the whatever you want to call this Coward machine. And if they lose him this summer, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I think they will lose him. I mean, this summer. It's not this summer. It's this proverbial summer. Then I will be upset. But it's like when Richarlison did really well for Everton. Like, I didn't want him to go, but I knew I was going to be sad, and now I just know I'm going to be sad.
Yeah, he's probably. I mean, he was very close to joining Gothenburg in the winter, or last year at some point. And I would be very surprised if someone doesn't go for him. He's not even 20 years old, which is insane. And now he's had so many. You know, he's been consistently pretty good. He scored how many? 10 goals last season, something like that. More. I don't know. He scored a bunch last season. He scored a bunch this season. For 2 teams, they weren't that super great last year. They had sort of their moments, and then they've been even worse this year. And he keeps scoring. So it's I think if teams aren't looking at him, then something's very strange with the scouting department in these teams. Yeah, I think he scored 16. I think so, because he's going for the goal record, which is 19 in the league, that famous goal record. So that's definitely achievable if they keep scoring at this. But yeah, he's doing really well, and it's hopefully he stays. But if not, hopefully he gets to go to some other club. But yeah, great performance from Coward. They rested some players. They can say all they want, and Fram did it as well earlier in the split, that we want to go for the Forsetabikar and the President's Cup, which is you win if you're the top of the bottom half. Of course, it's nice, but how many people are like honestly thinking about that?
Do they hand out an actual cup?
I think so. Yeah.
I always find this a little bit weird, if I'm going to be honest. Because it's a little bit demeaning or like patronizing, because like you hand someone a cup, you're like, here you go, here's a trophy for how well you've done, and they just sort of look and they're like, but FH are in one place better than us, and they're not getting a trophy because they're just solidly mid-table. So what is this?
No, I don't really know what to think, but I think it's okay to like sort of give them. I don't think there's like a trophy lifting ceremony. I think that would be quite over the top.
That would be insane. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like if you get the half, then your sort of trophy is not getting relegated. Is a kind of the point, right? But whatever. These millennials and their participation trophies or whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They're not even millennials anymore. But anyway, something. In any case, there's another game, Háká Fylkir. They drew 2-2, and if you were to speak to us off the record, we would tell you that these are the ones that should just kind of go down, right? But this is on the record, so they're fighting hard, and they're really sort of, giving it their all to try to salvage this one, and there's everything to play for.
Not so much for Fylkir anymore. They are now officially relegated.
Not only are they relegated, but they are headless, if you will.
They are headless. They are, everything. It's just a terrible way to end it for Fylkir. Because it could have been so much better. They were leading 2-1 going into the 96 minutes gone. At the end of a 6-minute added on game, 6 minutes added on, and then 98th minute, I think it was 98th and a half or something, Haukar equalized. Rúnar Páll just went ballistic at the sidelines, kicked everything, and got a red card, which means that he is suspended for 2 games, the last 2 games of the season. And he has confirmed, which I think we've known almost all season, that was it for him at Fylkir. He even said, "This is my last week here," which I think maybe he just wants to get
a tactical red, like you discussed in the last hour, like we've discussed before. He saw where this was headed and he opted for an early shower.
And Fylkir said, we expect him to be there on the training ground and stuff, but in his I think maybe just in the post-match interview he was just running a bit hot, that he just sort of said, I'll finish this week and then I'll skedaddle. But we won't see him on the sidelines anymore. Fylkir were relegated with that last kick of the ball. And it's always weird with these refereeing decisions that relegate an entire team. The game was over, and they just decided to extend it by almost 2 minutes.
There's not much you can say, I guess, except just, you feel for them, you do. But if it wasn't those few minutes, then it was the next 90. And the next 90, if it comes down to the fact that they would have saved themselves, then we got ourselves a problem.
But I'm not sure if they would have actually saved themselves, but it's you're right.
But I guess this isn't the time to discuss the clock, the timekeeping in football. It's a nuanced discussion that many people have had.
We can talk about Haukar. They don't look as I thought they would be the one team who would. Yeah, I don't know. I thought Kauer would be in much more trouble. I thought Haukar might even, be where Kauer is now, and I was really worried about this Kauer Haukar game at Bestadeildin, or the last round. I thought that was, that's a terrible way to end the season, especially if we're still in the relegation battle. That seems like a game that Kauer would lose, but it's just gone completely differently. Haukar failed to lost to Vestri, and then at home against Fylkir, and they almost lost that. They barely saved a point. They don't look great.
Thing is, Haukar, if they score 31 goals in their next 2 games, then they could still relegate Kauer.
Yeah, that's true. They could.
Or actually, no, because they might not have to score that many, because if Kauer, for example, concedes 16 and scores none, then Haukar only has to score 15 and concede none. This is all to play for, as far as they're concerned.
I think maybe more Vestri. But you're right, the goal difference is huge. Even just between Haukar and Vestri, Haukar minus 31, Vestri minus 18. Haukar have a worse goal difference than Fylkir, which is just...
Kauer, it's so funny that Kauer's goal difference is -1, and it's basically just because of the last 2 games. They're the epitome of papering over the cracks at the moment. Look at us, we're a real mid-table team. We don't even we basically hardly have a negative goal difference. The landlord special having it going. No, but it is the battle there is Haukar Vestri, the sort of them duking it out for who's going to get relegated. But my money and yours, I guess, are on Haukar. I think Kauer at home with this sort of momentum, they should be able to take Haukar in the last game. Come on, guys. Yeah, and then Hauka Fram. I mean, Hauka Fram though is a weird one because that's just two teams gunning it for the loss. You know, just giving it their darndest. So it's really a matter of Vested. I mean, Vested have to play KA, which in Akureyri, which, you know, could go one of two ways. And then they have to play Fylkir, which, I mean, playing at Fylkir at home, final game. I mean, either Fylkir are going to roll over just and not care in the slightest, or the risk is that they're just going to be there angry, just starting shit, you know, last hurrah, pick up some reds, you know.
Yeah, it also depends on the managerial situation. So Brynjar Björn is the assistant there, and he's officially thrown his hat in the ring there for the managerial role. So maybe he wants to show something in the next 2 games to convince the board to hire him. So that could be a. But yeah, it's best to have 2 eminently winnable games there, and if they get just 1 win, that's it for Hauka, right?
But I guess time will tell. In over a week as of time of recording, right? Are the games, because there are international games, which I guess we'll get to. But first, there's maybe some tangential things to talk about, right? Number 1 is this, our favorite thing in the world, my favorite thing in the world, is this suspension malarkey. Pick up your little yellow cards. There's 50 players and 5 managers at risk of being suspended for the final round. Like, that's insane. Imagine if they all get suspended. That would be awesome.
Oh, that would be quite funny, actually.
What are the chances of an individual player getting a yellow card in a game? Like 10%, let's say. So 0.1, what to the power of 50? What is it, 55? Is that the formula? Where's the power of button on a computer? 0.1 to the power of 55. Get. Okay, the odds are astronomically not in favor of all of them getting. It's like 0.57 zeros or something, and then a 1% chance of it happening. So it's probably not going to happen that they all get a yellow card, but they might. There's
still a chance. And I mean, team like Breiðablik has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players in the danger zone.
They should do like in the World Cup and have them reset so that this can't happen in the second to last game. Keep the last round a bit crazy. No, but that's also deeply unfair. If the last round is just different from the main rounds, like, that's so weird. I guess that's how it is. There's going to be, after a long season, there's going to be a bunch of players on however many. How many yellows do you need for suspension again? 4, 7, or 10? 4 over the course of a season. That's so crazy. You get 4 yellow cards over the course of a literal season of football. You've played like 20, 26, 27 games or something? And you pick up 4 cards? Yeah, so you've played 26 games, you get 4 cards. I mean, come on. Brothers and sisters. But, whatever. Let's see how that one plays out. A thing that we need to talk about as well, because much like I'm going to be sad when Benoni is inevitably sold from KR, you and Joe are going to be sad as well this off season.
What was that?
Because it's most likely Smáradonna's last season.
Yeah, he said he's 99% chances that this is his last season. And it makes sense. Not makes sense that he's quitting. He's not that old, is he? But
he is born in 1988, which makes him a grand total of 36 years old. Yeah, 36.
But it makes sense in the sort of romantic side of things. He's took them. So he came back to Dagarnes from after a playing career abroad, and took them back to the Bestadeildin. And then his first season, there's a chance that he takes them into Europe. I mean, maybe if they actually go into Europe, maybe he decides to stay for one more year. I don't know, but I mean, I think this is a pretty good place to leave them. If they've gone back down, then maybe he would have stayed again, just try to bring them back up and help the youngsters or something. But I mean, this is a pretty nice place to end your career, leaving IA and at the verge of, same level as Valur.
Really, I mean, but Europe might be tempting. But I mean, maybe. But for a player like this who's played abroad, etc., then he might not. He might not feel the need to also take part in the European adventure. He might just.
Yeah, it's also because
let them do it.
Also because the way the UEFA does it, it wouldn't be in Akranes. It would almost definitely. There's no way it's going to be in Akranes. It's going to be in Breiðablik Stadium or or something like that. So I think it takes away the romance a little bit.
Yeah, true. Very true. Speaking of IA, if we're going to talk about managerial stuff real quick, they extended Jon Thord for another three years. I mean, this makes sense given what we just talked about as well. We can't throw all of the praise on Arnór. Some of it has to go to the manager. So this makes perfect sense, right? Give them another deal, have them challenge, maybe play in Europe, maybe challenge again for Europe next season. Maybe try to build on this.
Yeah, I mean, this team there's never going to be a relegation battle, I think, next season, unless somehow they lose all their players or something. I think this team is going to be fine. It's going to be interesting to see, like you said, how they build on this, if they can maintain the sort of top half thing, or if they're going to be more around FO's level, sort of in the middle.
We'll find out next season. And next season as well, we'll find out what IBVF are like and who their manager is. At the moment, Einar Guðnason is apparently the main name on the short list.
That sort of job is always difficult because people don't sort of another Icelandic geography lesson, I guess, is Vestmannaeyjar is an island, and as the name would suggest, the Westman Islands, and it can be a huge pain in the ass to get there. When there's a storm, the boat doesn't go there, and you can fly, but that's sometimes even worse. And so, like a manager, you kind of have to live there or be willing to do a lot of uncomfortable commuting. The short list is kind of short. It's like you're never gonna attract the biggest name to just live there, unless it's maybe they want to try it for a year or something. But that's why Hermann is leaving now, because he can't live on the island anymore.
I thought a few years ago I heard talk of them training on the mainland.
Yeah, I think they do train sometimes on the mainland, but so I don't. Yeah, I mean, but you do have to be on the island a little bit. There has to be some, because that's why Hermann is quitting. So I think you have to, maybe not living there. I think living there helps, but I think be willing to commute fairly significantly. But yeah, Einar Guðnason is the name on the list. He was assistant manager of Víkingur in Sweden now. And he's the last I heard, and I sort of tried to check on it, but he's in the coach team of the KIF Örebro in Sweden, the women's team.
Actually, according to our show notes, he's a couch.
It does say couch, yeah. So
I don't know how much use he's going to be as a football manager, but I mean, crazier things have been done. There's nothing in the rules that says a couch can't be a coach. So
that's true. So a first next season, we can look forward to that.
But the final thing, I guess, managerial related, not managerial changes, but also changes related. Whoa, segue. Óskar Hrafn at KR has brought in, since his relatively recent arrival, has brought in either already or has signed players who are then going to be arriving in 11 players that, if put into basically their proper positions, fill every single position on the pitch.
It's so Fótbolta.net made a graphic that we tweeted out as well, with an entire 11, and not a bad looking 11 that KR could line up with their new players. Players, like you said, have either already joined or have signed a contract to join next summer or next.
Yeah, I mean that's madness, and surely indicative of people leaving. You can't just sign an entire starting 11 and then expect everyone to stay. But also, you can't sign an entire starting 11 and expect to do very well Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, I mean, some of these players aren't going to be starters. I mean, sort of the two latest players to sign, Julius Maur, from Fjölnir, and Halldór Snær. I spoke about them, I think, in the last podcast, and they were confirmed minutes after I pressed publish, so which is great. So, I mean, they both did really well with Fjölnir this season. Guy Smith's contract is running out, so is Halldór Snær, a young goalkeeper, going to be the automatic number one? Is Julius Maur going to be walking into that Kauer team, who have a lot of senior sort of centre backs, but senior centre backs who haven't had a good season? The midfield sort of is a bunch of players, or a few players that are coming from, you know, Fjölnir and Grótta as well. So it's players that are coming from, you know, Leiknir. We have players from Leiknir. We have you know, Mattias Press from Fylkir, or Jakob Gunnar, this teenager who's coming from Völsungur. So we'll see how many of these players actually walk into the first team. I think some of them are probably meant as more like backbone players, players who sort of come in to help with, you know, bring a bit of identity to the club, coaching some youth players, and be sort of to bring back a general feeling to the club, I think. But we'll see if they're also meant to play a big role on the pitch. But yeah, definitely means that people are leaving. We can't.
Maybe.
I mean, the Kauer team isn't particularly small either, so.
But nor are they particularly good. No, but I mean, something had to change. It seems quite radical, but I mean, who knows? I guess we'll find out next season. By the looks of things, in the Bestadeildin, but I don't know how could score 30 goals. We will never know. I mean, we'll find out. Players of the round. I mean, Ante Rúnar for Vestri. We talked about him right off the bat. He's dragging them out of relegation, scored a hat-trick. I mean, come on. Scoring a hat-trick, you're automatically in contention for a star. I think that's the rule, right? And score 4, you get one. So he's automatically in contention, and at this point, I mean, definitely he gets one. So, first star, Ante Rúnar, 100%.
Yeah, second star was between a lot of players, but I think I wanted to give it to Haukur Andri Via. 2 assists and quite a good game. In a game like we said, it wasn't against the best opposition, but I think he played really, really well, and it'll be very interesting to see if he's still there next season, or if he goes back to Lille, the club where he's loaned from. He's the sort of player that I would love to see more of. He's got an insane engine, but a lot of vision to create these sort of chances and goals. So very interesting young player, well deserved star.
And then the final star we're going to give to David Ingvarsson at Breiðablik for his 2 goals and a great game in a game that unfortunately they didn't manage to win, but still an important point that they picked up. I mean, if they couldn't afford to lose that game at this point, and he's the one that kind of made it happen there, that they didn't drop the point, so he deserves this star, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, for sure. He's had a good season so far. Like, he brought back from Kolding in Denmark, and he was a fullback when he left, and then he's been pushed into this winger role ever since he came back, also because of the departures of players like Yasun Dade and stuff like that. So and he's taken this change quite well. So very, I mean, well-deserved start for this game, but it's also been interesting to follow him since he's back, that he hasn't been annoyed or hasn't been trying to, you know, he's bounced quite well back from his disappointment in Denmark.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, do you think he's gonna just stay in Iceland for the rest of his career? Then he's 25 at this point. Not necessarily too old to go anywhere else. If he comes back and does well. But it's also difficult when you've gone and things haven't gone your way, and then you have to come back. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, Kolding was always a weird move, I thought. They were, you know, lower division Denmark, you know, pretty small town out in Jutland. There's been a lot of these project clubs in Denmark where they try to bring in players and try to get promoted quickly, and it almost never works, or if it may work for a very short time and then it doesn't. It just seemed like a strange move for him, like when he's, like you said, 24, 25. So I don't know, this sort of blot, I guess, on his CV could be something that deters other clubs, but we've seen other players move a bit later in their career, so I mean, he's shown now that he can also be a winger, so maybe that shows some clubs that he can be a useful asset as a winger or a fullback. We'll never know. He's a great player, so maybe he has one more chance.
Finally, the listener question. It's interesting. We asked who was going to drop points first, Víkingur, Breiðablik, or both at the same time. And a pretty even split across these three, which I guess means that everyone thought both at the same time, on average. And that's exactly what happened. So, crowdsourced, crowd-funded, and
we've got
signed, sealed, delivered.
It was all right. For once, I think the crowd knowledge sometimes goes a bit wrong in these questions. I mean, we've been wrong as well. Not to blame the crowd here.
Never been wrong. But remember, guys, just to make sure people know, because before this podcast, I didn't really know about this, that in Spotify, when you're listening, because you are listening, I know you're listening because you hear me say this, if you click on the episode description, then the poll appears just there. So it's, if you're one of these people who just presses play and then lets it roll, know that there's a poll at your fingertips. And it's going to be interesting, and your voice matters. So there's that.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's always fun. And then send us you can comment on each episode as well. So send us your comments, your questions as well. I'd love to hear from you. Yeah,
that's fairly new, right? This ability to just comment on an episode.
I think so. I think it's if it's not new, it's definitely been made easier or better. So it's
because it didn't used to be so, like, at least so screamingly obvious that you can do this. But it is very possible. So leave a comment, leave,
5 stars.
Notes like my notes. Yeah, I mean, obviously 5 stars. I don't know how one does that in Spotify, but if you have some comedy-related notes like me, you can leave them. If you have some football-related comments, you can say that, say whatever, and we will shout you out. Also, there's Twitter /X and Instagram at Bestadeildin that you should look at, because I mean it's vitally important, I would say, to be looking at that. You have to monitor those sorts of things. The socials, there's who knows what kind of information in today's world might pop up. So just do that. You really owe it to your parents who raised you for 18 years or whatever, to be an informed citizen.
Exactly.
No, because that's how a democracy thrives with an informed citizenry.
Exactly. You don't want to let them down.
Follow us on our
Let the world down.
Oh, Lord. The upcoming games, of course, now that I've already done the full sign-off thing. I mean, we've talked about all the upcoming games, basically, but the ones that are coming at Kawa Vestri, these are all on the 19th of October. No, they're not.
That's annoying, because I was going to go to the 2 games that are on the 20th, but I can't. So that's the annoying thing. There's 2 games on the 20th, and those are the games that I wanted to go to.
Yeah, at the same time. Great. Yeah, so there's 4 on the 19th. Kawa Vestri, FH Valur, IA Víkingur, and Breiðablik Stjarnan. And then on the 20th, there is HK Fram and Fylkir KR. Why were you going to go to HK Fram? You hate Kórin.
Yeah, I think it's mostly like it's like an important game in the relegation zone. But yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Kórin.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry to HK fans, but it's not my favorite stadium. It kind of just feels like a preseason friendly.
But actually, yeah, but given the weather, it would probably be kind of nice because it's going to be cold.
That's also true. It's always the same weather.
Yeah, but those are the games, so stay tuned for that. Also stay tuned for the international games. Iceland is playing both Wales and Turkey, if I'm not mistaken. 2 animals, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Or I guess more than 2 animals, because Wales is plural. So there's at least 2 whales and 1 turkey.
Yeah, and Turkey changed their name because they don't want to be Turkey. They want to be Turkey or something. But yeah,
shit. So I'm being culturally insensitive. Great. So 2 animals, 2 whales, and then definitely not an animal in Turkey. But it would have been a thing a couple of years ago. But anyway, stay tuned for that if you want to watch Icelandic international football, where you will see basically no one who plays in Bestadeildin.
No, we had people in the U21. Oh, there's one person in the national team, Gylfi. He's playing. He recovered from his injury with Valur to play for the national team. And then we had some players playing for the U21 this evening against Lithuania, and they lost 2-0. So they are out of the European Championship qualifiers, or they have no hope of getting to the Euros. So not the best advertisement for the league, but
advertisements for the league is what the Conference League is for. So we're good, sort of, except if Viking lost. But whatever, we're good.
Plenty of games left.
Yeah, plenty of advertisements left. I guess that'll be all. So thank you, and enjoy your existence and your football.
Thank you.
And see you at a later date.
Bye bye.